Everyone dreams of being a duchess. Our girl, Layla, is a descendant of the Duke Williot family. She entered the family as Phillen's fiancé. Duke Williot's family is extremely prestigious with the name Sword of the Empire. She had become a daughter-in-law to a family with a high reputation. They treated her like their own daughter while she was just a poor local noblewoman. They gave her good food and the things that are good for her body. They gave her pretty and good quality items. They loved her so much that their biological son, Phillen, the male lead, had to be jealous of her. The Duchess has always told her to take care of their son. That the Duke's family is counting on her. For our girl, they had truly loved her with their sincere heart. She had to learn many things from the Duchess, and during that time the male lead began to take swordsmanship seriously. So even though they were engaged, they didn't have many opportunities to meet and talk to each other. However, their relationship was not so bad. She walks past where he was practicing. She sees him resting. She asks him if he has finished his training. Although there was something warm between them as lovers, they weren't as close as soulmates. He calls her, his face moody. She asks him what is wrong, wondering if he heard something stupid. She just wanted to have a little time with him. He is feeling insecure. He asks her if he isn't good enough. She tells him that there's no such thing, that his appearance, taste and strength are exactly the same as the Duke. Between them was a relationship in that they could freely joke and tease each other. She was very happy with life in Duke Williot's family. Life was like playing with her, then suddenly, unhappiness finds her. It's late at night and it's raining too hard. Our girl observes it and comments that they should go help the people of the territory. Her maid tells her that they are already prepared. She tells our girl that she would become a very great duchess. Our girl asks her if she really thinks so. She says yes, that everyone else thinks the same. Suddenly, a maid rushes in and tells her a bad news. Something has happened. The carriage of the Duke and Duchess had accident because of the rain. At that moment, the male lead walks to her sorrowfully. She expresses her fear that they'd be deaf. He consoles her, telling her not to think too much, that their parents would be okay, that they won't die just like that. She agrees with him. She prayed that they would return to the house. She was expecting to be called beloved daughter, but she never heard that. God didn't answer her prayer. The immature male lead lost his parents. He inherited his father's title. He was depressed and just locked himself in the practice place. Our girl, as a small duchess, had to handle all the affairs in and out the Duke's house. In memory of the deceased Duke and Duchess, she and the male lead decided to postpone their marriage. Then one day the Empress suddenly announced the conquest of the mainland, and so the male lead was sent to battle. 6 years later, our girl is seen in her room being dressed by her maid. Her maid tells her that she would look beautiful. Our is tensed up. It's been 6 years since she met the male lead. The war have ended and he is coming back. After a while, the maid asks her to check herself in the mirror. She comments that our girl is really beautiful, that she looks like an angel. Our girl blushes and tells her to stop. She is shy. Our girl looks at herself, soft dress, beautiful makeup. It's really been a long time and she feels a bit unfamiliar. During the time the male lead was in battle, a lot of things had happened. Crop failure, diseases, but luckily everyone is safe. She is happy that he is coming back. She wonders the kind of man he is after 6 years. The maid gives her approval to go out and she leaves the room. As she walks outside the house, she asks if the whole preparation to celebrate the male lead is done, and they say yes. She steps out, waiting patiently. It is rumored that he is close to the gate. She's thinking about him. He would return with fluttering and passionate love. He comes back to marry her. That's right, if the male lead returns, he would marry her. Her thoughts is cut short by what she sees. She can't believe it. The male lead had returned from the war, with a strange girl in his arms. Her fiancé, who has just returned from the war after 6 years, is holding another woman in his arms. She still can't believe it. The woman has shiny blonde hair. Slender and voluptuous figure. Her skin is so soft and her belly looks a little inflated. Could it be that she is pregnant? No, she can't think about that. But the maids behind her also notices that the lady's belly is a little big. They also think the same thing. The whispers continues. They wonder why their master would bring home a pregnant lady. They wonder if she is carrying his child. But our girl is still here. As the whispers continues, Misha, the head maid, can't take it anymore and she tells everyone to keep quiet. Walking closer to our girl, she tries to calm her down, assuring her that the male lead cannot do that kind of thing to her, that there must be some misunderstanding. Our girl is deep in thoughts. She wonders if it is truly a misunderstanding. But if it's true that the lady is pregnant for the male lead, she wonders what she would do. Will she have to rip her hair off and curse her like the other women? Or will she feign ignorance and turn away like a virtuous lady despite feeling resentful on the inside? Does she even have the right to do so? She is not the male lead's real wife, she is just his fiancé. And she's Liela Thibessa, not Layla Williot. She's not a duchess yet, she's just an outsider. The male lead reaches them and climbs down from his horse. He comments that they have grown more reserved within the 6 years. He looks at our girl and asks her if she has forgotten how to speak while he was away. She smiles and tells him no, that she is just a little bit surprised. Trying to bring the woman down from the horse, he asks her why she is surprised. She doesn't understand. Is he asking because he is truly oblivious, or is he testing her? If it's not that, then the child that lady is carrying might not be his. The male lead voice wakes her up from her thoughts. He carries the woman gently in his arms, telling her that she must be very tired because of the long journey. They begin to walk away, with him holding her. The servants begin to gossip. They wonder why the male lead would do that in front of his fiancée. Our girl looks on, speechless. She can't stop the servants from gossiping. Even if their wedding was just for formalities, he shouldn't have done that right in front of her. The male lead stops a little distance ahead. He wants the girl, Sisley, to go to a room and rest because she looks tired from the journey. He calls Misha to lead her to a room. He asks Sisley what kind of room she likes and she replies that she wants a room with a lot of sunshine. He tells Misha to take her to the last room in the east corridor. Our girl is surprised. That room is the Duchess's room. He can't bring someone else into the former Duchess's room. She tells him that the room is the Duchess's room. He asks her if there is any issue with that. She tries to explain what it means. Maybe he has forgotten. She tells him that no one can use that room, it can only be used by the Duchess. He tells her that his father used it, and she also used it. She replies that the Great Duke is the owner, and she only used it to work, she didn't sleep there. He tells her that the room has the best lighting. She still doesn't accept. She replies that there are other rooms with lighting too. She's about to go further but he cuts her short. He tells her that he doesn't think he needs to hear such complaint just because he wants to use a room that no one else is using. He reminds her that it's the owner of the mansion that sets the rules. He turns to the maid and tells her to take some other maids with her so that they'd guide his guest and make sure nothing inconvenience her. The lady walks away with the maids flanking her. The male lead turns to our girl and asks her if she is angry. She replies that she isn't. He says okay. He walks away with Sisley. Our girl watches them sadly. The male lead returned after 6 years on the battlefield, let a strange girl into the Duchess's room. The maid behind her asks her if she is okay. She says she is fine. Within her, she knows that even if she said she isn't okay, nothing is going to change. She prepared very hard to welcome him back, but he brought another girl here. Although she wants to ignore everything and go back to her room, she tells the maid that they should go inside. She had to prepare dinner. She also tells her to keep an eye on the girl, that if she sees anything strange, she should report to her immediately. Because of her position, it is impossible to ignore it. Later that night, our girl is in the office, looking at letters and other matters that she has been attending to. She took the seal and worked for the Duke of Williot's house for 9 years. Because she went to welcome the male lead, she could check the books today. Even those who thought badly of her at first, when she took over the work on behalf of the Duke, after the passage of time, they also took it for granted. But even so, they can't forgive her mistakes, so she always tried to do everything perfectly. It is raining. She picks up a letter that she wrote. She have to check each application one by one to make sure there are no mistakes. She just wants to check this one quickly and finish. Then she remembers she isn't happy with herself. Because she only focused on working, she forgot it was raining outside. When it is stormy outside, she is still scared to cry. It's probably just her obsession with the Duke's death. She wonders if the male lead remembers that. No, he must have forgotten about all her loneliness and fear. That is why he put the other girl in the Duke's room, then asks her if she is angry. After a while, she steps out of the office. Misha tells her that it is time for dinner. She looks so tired. She comments that she was too focused on her work, saying that she is supposed to have dinner with the male lead because this is the first day he returned from war. That is right, it is family's manner, even if looking at his face while eating rice is hard to swallow. The maid tries comments that even if the male lead stayed before he returned, this time, he did bad. Our girl looks at her. She is a child that makes people feel like she is a lovely sister. Her maidservant has always been Misha. As they walk to the dining table, she can see the guards quarreling. Since the return of the male lead, the mansion has gone from quiet to bustling. She doesn't want to get in the way of people who are working hard, so she just quickly passes. A maid walks past them pushing a cart with her. Our girl stops her. She asks her where she is taking the table to when it is almost dinner time. She replies that the male lead wants to have dinner in his room, so they have to take it to him. She adds that he said he is tired and didn't want to go out to eat. They are surprised. Our girl sees a portrait of the family and wonders if she is a member of that family. Although the previous Duke and Duchess said that they consider her as their own daughter. But anyways, that is just their opinion, not the truth. Although she have lived and worked at the Duke of Wiliot's castle for more than 10 years, she wonders if she has always been an outsider. She feels since she isn't the same family as him, it is impossible to tell the male lead that they ought to have a proper meal together. Even though everyone below wants her to be treated fairly, they also know, however, no matter what. She looks at the food. She notices that it is too much for just the Duke. The maid tells her that the male lead wants to have dinner with the guest who came today. Our girl isn't happy. As she sits at her desk, Baron Wizard walks up to her, looking a little rushed. He tells her there's an urgent document that needs to be processed right away. He knows it requires the Duke's attention, but he insists that she can handle it. She listens for a moment, then calmly tells him that from now on, anything related to the Duke's business should go straight to the male lead. She makes it clear she's not the one to deal with it anymore. Our girl is in her room, soaking in the bathtub, lost in thought. Warm water surrounds her, but her mind is elsewhere. What is she supposed to do now? She lets out a sigh, her eyes drifting to the ceiling as memories from just a few hours ago play in her head. Baron Wizard had barged into her office, a stack of documents in hand. He looked serious, saying they needed to be handled immediately. She picked them up, flipping through them, but the more she read, the more irritated she felt. Why was she still dealing with this? The male lead wasn't absent. Right now, he was probably out somewhere, laughing, eating, and drinking with that girl. Meanwhile, she was stuck with this? Frustration bubbled up inside her. Without a second thought, she tossed the documents back at Baron Wizard, telling him that if it's urgent, then take it to the male lead. From now on, this wasn't her responsibility. The Duke was back, and she had no reason to keep doing his job. Baron Wizard walks down the long hallway, holding a stack of documents in his hands. Even though he has worked in Duke Wiliot's household for 30 years, today feels different. For the first time, he finds himself completely bewildered. The Duchess had told him to take the documents to the male lead. Just like that. No explanation. And now, as he walks, he can't help but wonder, will the male lead even understand all of this? Reaching his destination, he steps inside and hands the documents over. The male lead takes one look at them, then raises an eyebrow. Why is this being brought to him? Isn't this supposed to be handled by our girl? His voice is calm, but there's a hint of confusion. Baron Wizard hesitates for a moment before answering. Up until now, our girl had been handling everything on his behalf since he was absent. The male lead listens, then leans back slightly, crossing his arms. But she also did the work when he wasn't absent. That's the part that doesn't make sense. Baron Wizard knows exactly what the male lead is talking about. In his mind, he thinks back to that time when the male lead had locked himself away in the training grounds, drowning in guilt over his parents' death. He wasn't physically absent, but he had shut himself off from everything. And it was our girl who made the decision to step in, taking care of things while he avoided the world. And now? She had told Baron Wizard to bring it to him. No hesitation, no room for argument. Something had definitely changed. The male lead leans back, thinking to himself. Maybe our girl just hasn't seen him in a while and wants an excuse to grumble at him. That sounds like something she would do. Before he can dwell on it any longer, a voice calls out from behind. It's Sisley. He turns to see her standing there, looking impatient. He asks her what's wrong. She lets out a small sigh and pouts. She's bored. Does he still have a lot left to discuss? He shakes his head, telling her to go sit down. She's pregnant, she shouldn't be stressing herself over little things. She should rest. Turning back to Baron Wizard, he gives a simple order to take the documents back to our girl. He feels she was just upset earlier, but she'll handle them. Baron Wizard hesitates. He tells him that the documents need to be finished today. There's no time to go back and forth. The male lead doesn't waver. He gives Baron a firm look and orders him to do as he said. No more discussion. He turns the key in the lock, ignoring the man's protests from the other side of the door. The sound of the lock clicking into place is final. There's no room for argument. Inside the room, Sisley watches him, her expression curious. After a moment, she tilts her head and asks if his fiancée's name is Layla. Without hesitation, he nods. Yes. She hums in response, a small smile playing on her lips. They must be really close, then. The way they talk, just using each other's names without any honorifics, it's casual, familiar. That kind of closeness doesn't go unnoticed. He shrugs, unfazed. They've been together since they were kids. It's natural. But Sisley isn't convinced. She crosses her arms and shakes her head. Even so, it's still not proper. Layla isn't just anyone, she's the only daughter of an earl. No matter how long they've known each other, speaking so informally could be seen as disrespectful. She continues, her voice calm but firm. Even if Layla is his fiancée, the nobles won't ignore something like that. They'll find reasons to object. And more than that, our girl should be the one adjusting. She should be the one using honorifics with him. If she doesn't, it won't just affect her, it could make others look down on him, too. All because of her. Baron Wizard appears at the door of our girl again with the documents. She is calm now, she tells him to hand it over. It's obvious that the male lead definitely refused to do it. True, he has not been touching these for 10 years, how can he possibly handle these? However, she cannot do it for him forever, as she is not the one related to the Duke's family. She needs to talk to the male lead about this. She wonders if she should mention the thing about the new girl. The Baron is behind her, watching as she attends to the documents. She coughs and he asks her if she is okay. She smiles and says that she is okay. She hands the document back to him, telling him that she have fixed the unsuitable parts, so he just need to change a little details and it would be ready to be executed. He collects it gratefully and apologizes for bothering her so late at night. She tells him that there is no problem, that he also needs to rest too. He agrees with her, bids her good night and leave immediately. After he leaves, she sits on the bed, still feeling weak. Her body is exhausted, but her mind refuses to rest. Suddenly, a loud clap of thunder shakes the room. Her whole body tenses as she instinctively clutches her head. Fear creeps in, but she takes a deep breath, trying to push it away. It's just thunder. Nothing to be afraid of. She repeats the words in her mind, forcing herself to believe them. Lying down, she cuddles her pillow, trying to steady her breathing. Everything will be fine. It's just a storm. It'll pass. But deep down, she knows moments like these are always easier when Misha is around. Misha has always been there, always stayed by her side during nights like this. She remembers the comforting presence, the warmth of someone who never left her alone. But tonight, she's on her own. The thunder rumbles again, louder this time, shaking the windows. The scene shifts to the guest room. The male lead sits with Sisley, the atmosphere quiet, until the next crack of thunder echoes through the walls. Without hesitation, Sisley moves closer to him, her body reacting before she even thinks about it. He notices right away. His eyes flicker toward her as he asks, his voice calm, if she's afraid of it. She nods. Yes. There's a pause before he leans back slightly, as if considering something. Then, with an air of finality, he tells her there's no other choice, he'll have to stay with her tonight. She feels relieved to hear that. A small sense of comfort washes over her. But just as she settles into the moment, she notices Misha standing there, silently watching them. Misha doesn't say anything at first, but the way she looks at them makes it clear she hasn't left yet. Finally, she speaks up, reminding them that she's still here, still in the room. The male lead barely spares her a glance before telling her to leave. His tone is firm, leaving no room for argument. Misha exhales softly, turning toward the door. Just as she reaches for the handle, she hears a voice behind her. Wait. She pauses, glancing back. Sisley shifts slightly, looking up at the male lead. Her expression is troubled, her hand resting on her side. She tells him that her waist and legs hurt, probably from riding the horse for too long. The discomfort is obvious in her voice. He watches her for a moment before asking if she wants him to get her some medicine, but Sisley shakes her head, a small pout forming on her lips. No, not medicine. That wouldn't be enough. Instead, she trails off, leaving the rest unspoken, but the meaning is clear. Misha tells them that when it comes to massage, even a child will do a better job than me, so she will go and call our girl. The male lead cuts her short, ordering her to give Sisley waist massage. She had to do it. The scene shows our girl's room. She is lying on her own. The thunder strikes again. The next morning, our girl is getting dressed up when the male lead enters her room. She is surprised. He is holding a document. He tells her that there is something urgent. He tells her that with him is an invitation to join the celebration of the new emperor's enthronement that is coming up in a month's time. She feels that the time is too close. It takes 4 days to travel to the capital from here. She have to prepare her clothes in the remaining 3 weeks. She have to contact the tailor to make the dress, shoes, and accessories too. She asks him how long he intends to stay in the capital, adding that if he wants to prepare for this party, he would have to start right away to make it in time. That they have to prepare the carriage and the gifts too. He calls her by her name and tells her that she has to use honorifics with him from now on. She is surprised. He tells her that from now on he will regularly attend the parties of the upper class, but if she keeps talking to him like that people would laugh at him. He asks her if she wants to embarrass him in front of others. She is shocked. He has never complained about that before, so why is he saying this now? Is it because the new girl is telling him to do that? She keeps her cool and tells him that she understands, that she would start calling him Duke in public. He is happy with that. She tells him that he also shouldn't call her by her name in front of others also. She tells him to address her as Lady Thibessa. He agrees. He also tells her that he will call an exclusive designer to make her dress for the party, that it is only reasonable to go to the palace like that. He tells her that he would make a new dress for her. Our girl asks him what he said. He tells her that he will take Sisley with him and look around the capital as well. That she would be bored if she is left all alone in the mansion. She tells him to do what he likes. He tells her that he hopes Sisley clothes fits our girl. Saying that Sisley is their guest, so she should give in to her. She asks him if he still thinks of her as the owner of the mansion. He replies yes, that she is the one that he got married to. He asks her who would be his wife other than her. She asks him why he is saying that she should give in to Sisley, someone that is carrying his child. He asks her if she is angry because of that. He tells her that it is because of his impulsivity that Sisley got pregnant that night, and it isn't right to abandon his child. He tells her that after the baby is born, she will kick Sisley out of the mansion. He tells her that she is his one and only wife. Our girl thinks about it what he just said, kick Sisley out of the mansion. In other words, her child will still be recorded in the family tree. She gets it now. Her father Count Thebessa also said the same things. And that is how he became a lady in the Thebessa family. She tells him that she understands. She tells him that if he really consider her as someone he will marry, he shouldn't ever tell her to give in or take care of her. Later that day, the servants are talking about what is happening in the mansion. One of them comment that our girl has been acting weird lately. They also notice that the relationship between the male lead and our girl is getting more distant. The maid comments that there is nothing the servants can do, that they used to talk so casually to each other, but now they use honorifics with one another. Our girl can be seen walking in the garden. She sees the servants are gossiping and she could hear them. They wonder if the cold relationship between the male lead and our girl is because of the new girl. Rumors spread around that the girl is carrying the male lead's child. They wonder what would happen if the girl gives birth to a boy. They think the new girl would be made Duchess and our girl would be kicked out. She gets to them and they see her. They begin to make excuses. She tells them not to make excuses for gossiping. As she walks away, she tells them that what they said was partially right anyway, so they should feel free to talk about it. She walks sadly into the house. It's fine, because in the first place, she wasn't hoping for his love from the engagement. She only wanted to get out of her house. Of course, the fact that her soon-to-be husband is sharing his love to another woman is painful, but she don't have to face it directly. She won't mind. That is all she wanted. As she walks ahead, she comes face to face with Cecily. The girl greets him. She tells our girl that her belly is now big, that she can touch it. Our girl tells her that there is no need for that. The Cecily stops her, saying she haven't introduced herself to her. She tells her that her name is Cecily Heliot. Our girl looks at her. She recognizes the name. If it's Heliot, it's from Mulis Kingdom. It is obvious from the name that she must be Mulis Kingdom's princess, and it is the kingdom which surrendered to the empire not long ago. She now knows why the disappearance of the princess isn't so important. She tells the girl her name. She feels they don't have to talk too much. She wants her to leave now. The girl wants to tell her something. She addresses her as Miss Thebessa. Our girl takes notice of the way she was called. The royal family of the Doom Kingdom will be commoners or even lower status. That is why she should have called her a lady, not just Miss. Misha immediately tries to correct Cecily, telling her that she should address our girl as lady and not Miss. Our girl apologizes on behalf of the maid. She excuses herself immediately. In her room, our girl tells Misha that it is really useless to talk with her. Misha gives her a letter sent from the Countess of Thebessa just now. Our girl immediately recalls the last memory she had of the Countess. She is surprised that the Countess sent her a letter. She advises herself not to overthink. She accepts it and begins to read the message. The Countess asks her if she is doing well. She tells her that she will be visiting the Duke Williot's palace where she is staying. Our girl wonders what she is going to do. She doesn't want to face her, but she have no right to deny her. She tells Misha that the Countess will drop by tomorrow. She is surprised. Our girl tells her not to worry, that the Countess is just visiting. Misha says that she still has to prepare. Another maid walks into the room and announces that the new girl suddenly fainted, that the doctor just came and he is checking her out. The Duke is coming too. Our girl thanks her for informing her. She feels that if the male lead goes, then she doesn't have to go. She tells Misha that they should continue their preparation. Suddenly, the door opens and the male lead walks in, calling her. He is angry. He asks her what she said to Cecily. She doesn't understand what he means. He tells her that she shouldn't act as if there is nothing happening between Cecily and her. He asks her why she fainted after meeting her. Our girl is surprised. She asks him if that is what Cecily said. She asks him if it's what she said that make her faint. He tells her that Cecily hasn't woke up, but the doctor diagnosed it as a psychological concussion, and Cecily's servants also testified that they both met today. Our girl asks him what the servants told him that she said. That she and Sisley just said hello, asking if he thinks she is being rude by just introducing herself. If he pushes her to the wall and threatens her that if something happens to the baby inside Sisley's belly, he will deal with her. He warns her to be careful in the future, if not he might do something bad to her. He walks away angrily leaving. Our girl is surprised and shocked. The maids run to her and asks if she is okay. Now she has just realized that the male lead's feelings for that girl is deeper than what she thought. That the position of Duchess wife could be taken. That the end of this engagement, maybe it's an annulment, not a marriage. The next day our girl is reading a book in her room. Misha walks to her and tells her that Sisley have regained consciousness. She also tells her that the Countess the Besser has arrived. Our girl complains that she doesn't even have time to rest. She walks to the hallway to welcome her. They both exchange pleasantries. Our girl addresses her as her mom. Her mother tells her that they should leave the hall and go to the living room, that she wants to talk to her about something. She also tells the maid to leave. They sit to discuss. Her mother tells her that complexion looks really good. She asks her if someone is trying to take her place. Our girl tells her that she doesn't feel like having a long conversation, so she should go straight to the point. Her mother comments that she is still insolent as before. She replies asking her mother if she wants to have a long talk with her. She tells her if she wouldn't, then they should talk briefly, because she isn't feeling too good. Her mother angrily stands up and asks her why she is acting like a real duchess in front of her when she is supposed to act that way to other people and she couldn't. She continues, telling her not to forget that she is still Layla the Besser. Our girl is pained. She asks her if that's what she came here to say. She wonders if her mom came here to ridicule her for not even being the duchess. Her mom tells her that she heard a very interesting story. That the mistress of the male lead is in the mansion. That she also heard that the mistress is a princess of the defeated kingdom. Our replies that someone has informed her of matters that are not even important. Her mother immediately tells her that that is not even important, that the problem is that the mistress got pregnant before her. She reminds her of when she was telling her to get married immediately the previous duke and duchess died, but she refused. She drops a red bottle on the table. Our girl asks her what it is. She tells her that, and she replies that it is a drug that makes pregnancy easier. She brings another bottle with a blue color and drops it beside the other one, saying that this one is a drug to erase the child. She continues, saying that rumor has it that just one drop of it is enough to cause miscarriage. Our girl angrily stands up and wants to get away. She tells her mother to go home if she's going to say such strange things. Her mother shouts at her to calm down. She asks her how her life would be if the mistress gives birth to a child. She tells her that her marriage would be cancelled, that even if she is lucky enough to be the duchess, it would just be in name. Continuing, she tells her that she is too old to get married and what would she do if the marriage is cancelled. She asks her if she has any intention of getting back home. Holding her hand, she tells her that she is saying these things because she is worried about her. Our girl removes her hand immediately and tells her that she will pretend as if she didn't hear anything. She asks her to leave. Her mother stands up and informs her that she will leave the drugs with her, saying that if she wants to keep her position, then she will have to make a suggestion. In our girl's room, she is thinking about what she just heard. She hates Sisley, but that doesn't mean she wants to kiss the baby. The child is innocent. She feels it's the male lead's fault to have made the baby, but if she gives birth to the baby she will be. She turns and looks at the drugs in the drawer. There's a knock on the door and Misha requests to come in. The request is granted. She enters the room and informs her that the seamstress from the garment department is seeking her presence. Our girl comments that at last the seamstress is here. She tells the maid that she has to prepare quickly since she has to get to the capital in 2 days. She asks the maid about the jeweler and the shoemaker. The maid replies that they have received the message and would come today. Our girl tells her that she needs to put on clothes and accessories together, so they should be told to come quickly. Checking herself out in the mirror, she thinks within herself that she has to solve the immediate problems first. She asks the maid if the seamstress is in the living room now, and she says yes. She tells her to go and call the male lead to come outside to the living room. The maid tells her that the male lead is already in the living room. Our girl is surprised. She asks why. The maid tells her that the male lead wanted to show Miss Sisley how to welcome guests, so they're there together. Our girl is surprised that the male lead let that woman greet the guest. Meeting and greeting guests are jobs for the lady owner of this mansion. That is not something a normal mistress can do. Sisley can be seen greeting and welcoming the tailor at the living room. Our girl isn't happy. How could that be? She haven't really been the lady owner of this mansion. She just acted as if she was the owner with the male lead's permission. She feels she and Sisley have no difference. Misha walks to her and asks her if she okay. She asks her if she should kick the mistress out of the house. Our girl replies that she is fine, that if the male lead have decided to let her greet the guests, then they have to accept. She feels if she kicks the mistress out, she will just be a clown. Even so, she still needs to go. She walks to the living room to meet everyone. She greets the male lead who announces her presence to the tailor. The tailor prostrates and greets her. She tells him that she has received his letter, asking him where he put the finished dress. The tailor tells her that Sisley is checking it out. Sisley calls on our girl to come check her out. Our girl can't believe her eyes when she sees what the mistress is wearing. She quickly asks her what she is wearing. It is a green dress. Her mind flashes back to when she was gifted that dress by the male lead's mother. His mother had told her that the dress is for pregnant ladies and would love to see her wearing it. She adds that she is giving her the dress because she wants her to be pretty in it. Patting her head, his mother had told her that she wants to see her in that dress nursing her child. She had thanked the Duchess with all her heart. Back to present, our girl screams at her, asking her who gave her the permission to wear the dress the previous Duchess gave to her. The male lead tells her that he is the one that gave her the permission, so she should stop yelling at her. Our girl turns and asks him why he took her clothes without her permission. He tells her that she acting way too sensitive, that it is just an outfit. He adds that she doesn't even need this type of clothes because it is for pregnant women, that it is better to give it to someone in need than throwing it away in one place. She asks him if she threw it away, adding that she was afraid that it would be defected, so she kept it carefully in the deepest place in her closet. She asks him how he was able to find the dress in such a secret place like that, adding that there is no way he could have entered there and taken it. She asks him if the mistress went into her private room without her permission. The male lead tells her that the mistress has to greet the guests, but she has no clothes to wear. That if she had ordered a dress for her, then it wouldn't have happened. Our girl asks him if he is trying to put all the blame on her. Sisley begins to apologize. She tells them not to fight because of her, adding that this wouldn't have happened if she had brought her clothes with her. She begins to shed tears, apologizing. The male lead tells her that she doesn't have to say sorry, that she did nothing wrong. She tells him that she is always causing problems. He replies that it is not true. He turns and shouts to the servants to bring hot tea and some towels. Our girl looks on, thinking that stranger pregnant mistress is in the mansion. Our girl decides to be careful of her, because maybe she can threaten her position. Many times she thinks she is the stranger here. She tells her maid that they should go back to the room. Outside in the garden, the maid are talking about the mistress and our girl. They wonder what would happen to our girl, whether the marriage would be broken. Another replies that it's not going to happen, that the nobility always differentiate the main wife from the subordinate one. Our girl walks past them and knows they're gossiping. Her maid isn't happy. She tells her not to care about them, that ever since she raised her voice in front of the mistress, she have already made up her mind. And most importantly, going to the capital with that woman would be so irritating. Her maid tells her that if she doesn't like it, she can just say she wants to check the territory, then she can leave. That if she was our girl, she would let the male lead do everything. Our girl smiles and remembers what she has to do. A week ago, she is in a meeting with some nobles. One of them suggests that she should hand over the work to the male lead, that he is back already and it is not really fine for her to keep doing his work. She agrees with them, saying that she will have to go to the capital in a week's time and from there, she would hand over to him. She adds that she believes they can solve it well. 2 days later, they are about to travel. The carriage arrives in front and the male lead asks if it is ready. They said yes. He is about to enter a coach with the mistress when our girl comes out. He greets her and tells her that the mistress is not feeling so well, so he is going with her. She tells him that he can do that she doesn't care. She walks into a different coach. Inside, she is thinking. She wonders why she is feeling lucky that she doesn't have to sit with them. She looks from the window and sees him holding her passionately. On the way to the ceremony, she wonders if this is what is making her upset the most. After a few long days on the road, they finally arrive at the capital. The driver of our girl's coach slows the horses and announces their arrival. She listens, exhausted, barely mustering the energy to respond. A maid beside her sighs, glancing out at the road behind them. She hadn't expected the journey to be this rough. Turning to our girl, she asks if she's okay. She nods but lets out a tired breath. The journey took longer than expected, and all she wants right now is to rest. That's the only thing on her mind. As she steps out of the carriage, the other maids nearby whisper among themselves. Their curious gazes flicker toward her, their expressions filled with speculation. Why is she alone? It's unusual. They murmur among themselves, wondering if something happened between her and the male lead. One of them suddenly points in the distance. The male lead is stepping down from another carriage, with the mistress. The whispers grow louder. Another maid, unable to contain her curiosity, asks who the woman is. Our girl clenches her jaw. She is beyond exhausted, and the last thing she wants to deal with right now is pointless gossip. Without sparing them a glance, she turns to Misha and tells her to take her to her room immediately. She doesn't need to hear any more of this. She just wants to be alone. She is taken inside and shown a room. Assessing the room, she comments that it often rains at the capital, so she wants another room without a window. The maid is surprised. She tells our girl that that kind of place is used only by servants. She replies that it is fine to be a little less classy. She asks her to take her to a room with smaller window. The maid takes her to another room. The room's window is smaller, but it is at the end of the corridor, so it is a little dark. Opening the room, the maid asks her if the size is okay with her. She says yes, that it is perfect. The maid informs her that she will tell a porter to bring her bags her. At that moment, someone calls her name. It's the male lead. He tells her that she already knows that the room isn't a lady's room. He is standing with the mistress. Our girl tells him that she prefers the room, that is why she requested for a change. She asks if there is any problem with that. He asks her if she changed because the mistress' room is right next to hers. Our girl doesn't understand. The mistress interjects. She first asks the male lead not to be furious with her, then she tells our girl that she will share a room with the male lead. She adds that she would be nervous if she were to stay alone in an unfamiliar place like that, saying that she likes being with him. The male lead says it is okay for them to stay together. They hug each other in front of our girl. She is so pained, Misha notices it and brings it to her attention. Our girl tells her that they need to get out of there immediately. Our girl and her maid are taking a walk around the capital. Her maid asks her how she feels now after the walk. She replies that she is better now. She is all smiles. Misha tells her that she has not seen her smile like this in a very long time. That in recent days her expression is always solemn and it makes her nervous. Our girl was considering annulment. But how is she expected to cope with that Count father if she calls off her engagement with the male lead? That house, too, did not welcome her. She can't take this out-of-hand marriage any longer. A sound ahead of them wakes her up from her bed of thoughts. She looks up and sees a man carrying a young girl, and her small sister is on the floor begging. Immediately she screams at the man to stop. She asks him what gave him the audacity to make such a bad deed in broad daylight. The man comments that our girl looks like a person from a noble family. He tells her not to meddle in someone else's business. Our girl tells him that she would have let it go if she didn't see it, but now she can't watch with her arms crossed since she have seen him treat those children like that. He orders him to explain what is going on. He tells her that she is collecting money. That the kid borrowed money from him 6 months ago and is yet to repay it, adding that if they don't have any money, then they would have to labor to pay it. The younger sibling on the floor screams at him, saying that her sister borrowed only 30 gold, but he is now asking for 500 gold. Our girl is surprised. She tells him that according to the imperial legislation, the highest loan interest rate in business is only 30%. He replies that he doesn't need to know about that everyone lends like that here. Our girl tells her maid to go and call the officers in the courtroom. The man is angry that she has intervened. He tells her that if she dared to travel alone like that, she should know better than to meddle in other people's business. He draws a sword and is about to cut our girl. She sees it coming but is too shocked to move an inch. Then suddenly, another sword prevents the blow and drags her away. It's a man with blue hair. He holds her safely in his arms. The man asks her if she is okay. The attacker immediately runs to him and they begin to fight. The man with the blue hair beats him up and he runs away. The maid is happy. Our girl looks at her savior. He has shiny blue hair and sharp eyes, white skin and expensive clothes. She doesn't think he is an ordinary person. She wonders who he is that she didn't know. He is of her age, and she knows virtually every noble person of her age. He tells her that she is reckless. She replies that she doesn't know what he means. He tells her that if he didn't save, something terrible would have happened to her. She asks him why he is so conclusive. He wonders if she is trying to say that he is wrong. She immediately tilts her fan closer to his neck and a blade comes out. She tells him that even if he didn't show up, she would have protected herself. The man is surprised by her move and weapon. He discovers that he was wrong and biased, so he apologizes. She tells him that she doesn't want his apology, but instead she is grateful to him for saving her life, adding that he apologized to her and saved her too. He tells her that it was nothing. He commends her fan, saying it is awesome, adding that this is his first time seeing such a useful fan. He asks her where he can buy it. She tells him that she made it herself. When the former duke passed away, there was no one to protect her in the mansion. When the male lead left for war, the attack was more severe because of the assassins. She tells him that she knows that it is not good to take it with her, but she has no choice. He smiles and tells her that she is so great, that it is amazing that she can make a weapon to protect herself. She looks at him, wondering if she is really great and amazing. This is something that the male lead has never said to her. She stops her thoughts immediately. It is not right to compare her fiancé to another man. She tells him that she is leaving now. She tells her maid to wrap her shawl and follow her, that she has to go find the guard. The man asks her if she is going to report the man to the guard. She says yes, that the man is requesting a 60% interest. He will be fined at least 1,000 gold. They greet each other in the name of the empire, and she leaves. As they walk away, Misha thinks the man is so handsome and really nice. He shines so brightly. She asks our girl if she will shine like that if she becomes a duchess. This question plunges our girl into another series of thoughts. Just a while ago, she thought it would be the duchess. Now she wonders if she can become the duchess. Her maid tells her that they have arrived the place. They enter the office and meet an elderly man. Without looking, he asks them what they're doing here. Our girl explains to him that she just witnessed an unfortunate incident on the street and would like to report it. He drops a plain sheet on the desk and tells her to fill her report there and leave. She asks him if he isn't going to strengthen the patrol, that she saw a man assaulting a woman a few minutes ago. He is getting impatient and tells her that they are short of manpower, that she should just fill out the report first. The maid who is standing behind asks him if he knows who he is talking to. Our girl tells him that there is no point in screaming, that if the capital's guards are so negligent, it would be better to report the matter to His Majesty separately. He stands up immediately in fear. He calms them down, saying he didn't mean it that way. He begs her to fill the report first and he will take action immediately. Later that evening, our girl is going back to the house. The maid comments that people in the capital doesn't really give regards to our girl. Our girl tells her that they should head back inside immediately. As they move, our girl notices that someone is following them. She quickly turns and sees the man with the blue hair. She asks him why he is following her. He stops and tells her that he didn't intend to scare her, that he just wants to ask her something. She asks him what he wants to know. He tells her that it is about what they were talking about in the morning. He asks her how she knew that the person is supposed to get 60% interest. She asks him if that is all he wants to ask. He replies no, that he also wants to know how she knew that the empire's interest rate for the loan is 30%, and also how she knew that the fine to be imposed on that man would be 1,000 gold. She smiles and tells him that she guesses it is so strange for a young lady like her to know these things well. He agrees, saying that usually, nobles don't even study these things. Our girl knows that it is natural, a lady would not rule a territory, so there's no need for her to study these things that would give her headache, but she had to rule the estate on behalf of the male lead. She tells him that she is interested. She sees his reaction and asks if he is dissatisfied of her interest because she is a woman. He says no, that it's just a little strange. Most women don't usually care about this. She tells him that she have to leave now, since she has satisfied his curiosity. She turns and begins to walk away. He also bids her goodbye, calling her full name. She is shocked, she wonders how he knew her name. She turns quickly but couldn't see him again. Later in her room, she is still thinking about what transpired. She feels he say her name on the crest that's in the fan. Misha tells her that she was quite famous in high society also, so it's natural for him to know her name. She asks the maid if she knows the family the man is from. She says no, asking if they should find out. Our girl refuses, saying there's no need. She feels he is more than a count's family member, so she would surely see him at the emperor's coronation party. The next morning, our girl is her room when the male lead comes to look for her. Her maid announces his presence and she goes to see him through the window. He calls her name and she tells him to address her as lady and not so casually. He asks her if she really wants to be addressed that way continuously. She says yes, that she is only keeping her promise. He tells her that it's enough, that only talking with her hurts his head. Our girl immediately remembers when they were younger. He had announced that it's a lot of fun talking with her. That she knows a lot of things that makes him envious. He had confessed that he wants to be smart like her. She is surprised that he is saying a different thing. Tears begin to drop from her eyes. Immediately, he asks her if she is okay. She says she is fine, that there's dust in her eyes. Showing a gift box to her, he asks her if she likes chocolate. Adding that he didn't know when women liked, so he asked the store owner and he recommended it. She asks him if he just got it and brought it for her. He tells her that Sisley wanted to eat a cake. She's shocked. He asks her if there's any issue. He tells her that he didn't know she'd want it. Adding that if she wants to eat a cake she should get it by herself. She feels so bad as he walks away. The male lead brings the cake to Sisley. She is very happy. He tells her that she can eat it all. She tells him that it is very delicious. She asks him where he got it from. He tells her that it is another nobleman that told him about the place. She asks if she could eat more, and he says yes. He asks her if our girl also got the cake. He didn't answer. He asks her why she wants to know. She tells him that she feels sorry for her, that in their kingdom, there is a custom of sharing good food. She says that our girl is like family now, so she wants to share with her. In our girl's room, a maid carefully sets down a box in front of her. Misha announces that it's a cake, watching for her reaction. She blinks, a little surprised. After everything he said earlier, he still went ahead and bought it. That means it must have been on his mind. He must have been bothered by it more than he let on. She glances at the box. The male lead isn't the type to care about things like this, so why now? As she looks closer, something feels familiar. It's the same box she saw earlier. A realization sinks in, it's probably the same kind of cake Sisley had. A strange feeling settles in her chest. It doesn't sit right with her. It almost feels like she forced herself to accept it, even though she never really wanted it in the first place. Misha notices her hesitation and sighs. She knows our girl doesn't like cake, but on a day like this, she shouldn't refuse it. Hearing that, our girl smiles, pushing aside her doubts. She tells Misha that, actually, she did want to try it. Just a little. With that, she lifts the lid, ready to see what's inside. But the moment she lays eyes on it, she freezes. Her mind takes a second to process what she's looking at. A leftover cake. Not a fresh one, not something bought just for her. Just leftovers. If you're eager for the next chapter, drop a comment expressing your interest in a part 2. Don't forget to subscribe and hit the notification bell to stay updated. Until next time, ciao.